Okay, so next thing we're going to do, we have our frequency distributions tables with the beer price data, so we know how to make those. I'll post some homework later, and then we also define cumulative percent. We have that. Hopefully, it makes sense. All right, so the 72.46. That means 72.46% of beer prices are less than or equal to the upper bound here of $6. Okay. Or with the with cumulative frequency, that means 50 beers are less than or equal to $6 in price for a 6-pack. Okay, so let's make some charts. Of course, the most important of these that we're going to make is a histogram. Graphical means displaying the information we're interested in, so we can plot any of these into a histogram. Okay. Of course, for a histogram, we don't separate, we don't want gaps in between the adjacent classes. Okay, so we want it to look like this. So here's that 20 observation data set that we had used to make the stem and leaf and stuff, I think. Yeah, I don't remember. Whatever we used it for. In defining classes and stuff that we first did. And again, it's just a bar chart. This is a histogram. It's a bar chart with no gaps because it doesn't make sense to have gaps here. We'll go from 10 to 20, 20.1 to 30, etc. So it flows. Now with the categorical data, you have to have gaps because they're categories, right? Now we made categories here, but they run right into each other. Okay, so make sure. I'll show you how to get rid of the gaps. So we'll just do the same thing we did with categorical data to make a bar chart, and then we'll lose the gaps. Okay. So this is a frequency histogram of this 20 observation data set, whatever it is, ages of people at a family gathering, who knows. So what's nice about this is you get an idea of the spread of the data. It looks like it's right skewed, pulling off to the right. Again, we haven't quite defined that yet, but we will shortly. Okay, and then, of course, between 20 and 30 contains the most observations, that range there. So actually, technically, I guess it's from 20 to 29 contains the most observations. All right. So let's do our own. This is at beer prices. So we're going to create a frequency histogram and a cumulative percent histogram. Okay. Like I said, you can make any of these into a bar chart, and it's the same way we did it before, except for there's a few more steps involved to put it together nicely. Okay, so we have our. Whoops, where did that come from? That's right. So we have our table we created, and all we got to do is plot some things, right? So let's make a frequency histogram, cumulative percent, right? That's what we're making. So we want our class definitions on the x-axis, but we're not going to put I don't think it'll do it right if we do. I can't remember exactly how this works. Taught it many times, but I never do this outside of this class. It's been a while. So I'm going to select both columns. This may not work, but let's see what it does. And then we just want a bar chart. Oh, worked. Okay, good. So, in fact, I'm going to move that to a different tab of its own here. Right, move chart. Right-click on the chart, move chart, and then it's not correct, right? It's not really a histogram yet. Oops. It will be. So you can do all your formatting adjustments like we did previously with the categorical data. But what we want to do now is make sure this looks like a histogram. So double click on one of the bars, any of them, any of the bars, you double click and it brings up this format data series. And we want no gap width, right? No gap width. Well, you can just type 0 in. There. Okay, no gap width. However, that doesn't look very good, right? So we need bounds on our boxes. So again, double click and we want to make a border. I'm just going to use a solid line. You can make it look whatever you want. Change color. Yeah, just use black here. Good enough for me. Okay, so now you can read the histogram, right? So it's a frequency histogram. We have 7 observations, 7 prices that are between $2 and $3, right? 14 prices between $3 and a penny and $4, right? So again, we can add data labels like we did with the categorical data. Where'd it go? Oh, did it. If you want, I don't really care if you do that or not. Oops, didn't want that. But they are kind of nice. Okay. Anyway, so that's a histogram. Any formatting you want to do to it, that's what it looks like. So you can change colors in your boxes. Oh, that's some order. Oops. Fill. Put a gradient fill in there. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Let's change color. Not really the best formatting on the histogram, but spent enough time on it. So anyway, so there's a histogram. Pretty easy. It's just the bar chart like we did with the categorical data. Make sure the x-axis is showing your categories because you want to be showing all the information you can out of the data set. Right? So we got a nice shape of the distribution. Most of the observations are here, right, between $3 and $6, or maybe $3 and $7, right? That's the vast majority of the beer prices. But then we have 13 that are either below or above that. So you can say things about the data just by looking at the histogram, right? That's our goal. So we want to express information about whatever data set we're interested in talking about. Anyway, so right, so that was here's our raw data. Then we have that. Oops. Ignore that. I was actually working with this. Okay, so we made our histogram, our frequency histogram. Now let's do a cumulative percent. So we can do it the same way. Remember, select the, well, actually, you don't want to select the classes this time. This time we want the upper bounds on the x-axis. So this is where I think it gets tricky because these are numbers. It's going to mess up. And remember, if you hold the control key down, you can select different columns. I guess I didn't mention that for the other one, but I mentioned it with it when we did the category. Sorry, my microphone keeps moving out of the way. So hopefully you can still hear, or could hear that. Anyway, so let's do this plot, see what it says. Again, bar plot, or column. Yeah, see what happened. So I'm not going to redo it. I'm going to move this to a different tab. New sheet, chart 2. Sounds good. Okay, so note that the upper bounds is what plotted here. bigger bars. We don't want that at all. So I'm just going to select, click on the bar again, hit delete. They're gone. Okay. So this is what we want, but it's not a histogram because we have gaps still, and plus the x-axis isn't correct, right? So double click on those x-axis. So double click on the x-axis and note what came up at the top. We want to go to the select data key. We want to tell it what to put on the x-axis. And it is the upper bounds. Okay, so note what comes up. Gives you the select data source. Well, cumulative percent, that's what we want to graph, so that's good. However, the horizontal category axis labels we need to select. So we'll go back to our so this was what I was using. Just select the upper bounds, not the whole column, just the actual values. There. And that's it. Hit OK. So now it's labeled correctly. Right, it's cumulative percent histogram. The highest being at 100%, right? 100% of beer prices are below $8. I guess I should put this of beer prices. So we don't need the legend. So I just clicked on it and deleted it. Now we need to lose the gaps and add borders, right? So let's do this again, 0. Oops. Go to borders, solid line, and go back to black. Okay, so now it's a correct histogram. Now we can't actually get over 100%, so we don't need that big range above, but for future reference, when you might use this for something, you can double click on the axis and it gives you lots of options. So here, I don't want 120%. I'm going to put like 0.5 there. Oops, now it changed my bottom. Damn it. So minimum is 0. There, that looks better, right? Guess we don't need the 1.05. This looks fine. Okay, so cumulative percent. 10% are less than or equal to $3. How many? It looks like about 52% or so. 52.17%. Note that if you hover over the bar, it will show you what it's indicating. So Excel is a great program. A little over 52% of beer prices are less than or equal to $5. Right? The correct meaning of cumulative is less than or equal to. So, again, that's why I really don't like using the lower bound definition. I prefer upper bound definitions. But some books tell you to use the lower bound. I don't know in particular what this book is telling us. Okay, so that's that. We made some histograms. You can do it with relative frequency, cumulative relative frequency, whatever you want. Cumulative frequency. So these cumulative distributions are pretty nice because you can tell where the biggest jumps are. Will indicate the biggest category too, right? It's kind of hard to see here. Here we have a pretty big jump here. Anyway, it doesn't really matter that much. So distribution table, nice to have, but you can see the information more quickly out of a diagram or chart. Doesn't mean that you can't use tables to indicate things because they are pretty nice too, right? And remember the where was I? Stem and leaf diagram. you could view as a histogram as long as the spacing was right. Remember, we did that. Yeah, so the next thing is polygons. That's why I have the midpoints in there. We're not going to worry about that kind of polygon. That would just be, I mean, I never see these. Maybe you'll see them somewhere, and all that it would be is a line graph having the x-axis as the midpoint of each class to represent the class. I'm more interested in this cumulative percentage polygon, also known as an ogive. Okay, so for that, oops, let me see what's next. For that, we want the class upper bounds. Basically, it's using the histogram we just made and turning it into a line graph. So here's some pictures. So I'm not sure what the stat is. Oh, number of minutes on the phone or something? I don't know. Number of minutes spent on the phone over a month. Percent of customers. So these are polygons. These are the midpoints of the class. So the class range must be from looks like maybe 20 to 30. Oh no, must be 25 to 30. Yeah, and then this is 20 to 25. So these are the midpoints representing the class. So that's kind of nice. I like a histogram better for showing this. I guess if you have two different cities like we have here, this might be a better way to indicate that, because you can put histograms together that way, but I don't like them. But we're just going to do this with one data set. There are better ways to compare distributions that I'll show you later. Anyway, so this one's cumulative percentage polygon. This we will make, and these are class upper bounds. So this is out of a book that used the lower bound definitions to define the classes. So these are the upper bounds. Again, I don't like that. I like having nice round upper bounds. So when you make a cumulative distribution graph like this, polygon or histogram, the labels on the x-axis are much nicer. Nice round numbers. Okay? So one thing I didn't like about that book, using those lower bounds as the definitions. Bad idea. Okay, so let's go back and make an ogive. Ignore the frequency polygon. I'm not going to bother with those midpoints. Easy to do. You can do it on your own if you like. But let's just make the cumulative percent ogive. And that will finish this video. So let's go ahead and make that. Remember, you want to save all these exercises. You should have made the distribution table. You should make the graphs. Put them all, save them, and post it. I made a Dropbox folder in the, if I can find it, assignments tab in D2L for you to put that. So participation quizzes 1220. So you'll want to do that. We'll probably have more as well. So we're only into not even 2 hours of class yet. So I'm going to make another video getting into descriptive statistics. Okay. But anyway, let's finish this up. We want a cumulative percent ogive. Okay, so again, we want upper bounds on the x-axis, again, but we don't want to select that. I guess we could use the class to do it, or we could just go back to our chart. This cumulative percent histogram, remember we can change this chart type. We could just make that a line chart. However, I want this in your data that you submit. So an alternative to that is just copying it, right? Right-click on the tab, brings up this menu. So I want it to be put here, make a copy, there we have it. So let's just call it chart 3, or you could label it. Or you can just make it from scratch again, but I'm going to do it this way right now. Change chart type. I think this will work anyway. Don't want that, that's for sure. We want a line chart. And there it is. So not a very interesting, this is a cumulative percent ogive. polygon. I never call them polygons. Ogive. Oops. Okay, so of course the highest, the 100% are less than or equal to $800. Here we see, I mean, you can have it show the points. 91.3% of beer prices are less than or equal to $7. Right, we can add data labels, so let's do that. Because you can't see where these are changing, and because the categories, well, you can't really see it here, but we got like 20% in this range, another roughly 20% here, another roughly 20% here. So it's really the same jump at each step. So it's really not a very interesting ogive. And without the data labels, you can't really see that. So you can move these. Oh, I thought I could move them all at once. So again, formatting stuff you can do. So the cumulative percent ogive, not very interesting to look at. But you can pretty it up, make it look that way. Right? So there it is. If we were to do it from scratch, I'm going to do it a little different than last time. I'm going to use the classes first, then this, and again, we just want to make a line chart this time. Okay, looks the same. Note, maybe adjust the bound some, and we want actually the upper bounds here. But this is a little nicer to work with, right? Because it laid it out nice. I mean, technically you could really do this, but since it's an ogive, people that know what an ogive is know these are the upper bounds of the class. Okay, so it's really this still 100% less than or equal to $8, the upper bound of that class. Or you can go back in, right click, select data, edit the x-axis. Instead of that, we want upper bound down to 7, right? Yes. Okay, good. So same ogive. So it was, I mean, it was pretty easy to make from scratch too, right? So that's about it. That's all we want to do here. And that's the same thing I had in my key, right? So I'll post this later after you get a chance to do your own. I don't want you just copying mine and pasting it. You should do this on your own. So I won't post it till after the due date for your in-class, which is 11:59 p.m. Doesn't give you a midnight option. I could put 12 a.m. tomorrow, but I don't know. It can be confusing, so I'll just leave it where I have it. 11:59 p.m. Your in-class participation quiz is due. So this is one of those. This worksheet that has your stem and leaf in it for the beer calories, right? This is beer calories. And then we have the distribution table for beer prices, and then we made some charts, right? Should label these so at least I know what they are. I mean, your goal is to express the data in a nice, meaningful way, the information in the data. Okay. I'm not sure why I have this separate, but I'll leave it in there. Okay. So, done with another video. And I believe that is, so this will be the histograms and Ogives piece, so topic 2, part B. And then we get into the numerical descriptive measures, which we'll do today. Okay, at least get a good start on it. So keep a lookout, that video is coming. See you in a few, hopefully.